Good morning, this is TVP World. You're watching World News. I'm your host Benjamin Lee, and these are the latest headlines. A Russian drone strike killed a couple and their 2 young children in Ukraine's Sumy region overnight on Monday. Their home was destroyed in the attack. The strike hit the village of Cherneshina near the Russian border. The regional governor said the drone directly targeted the family's house. Rescue crews pulled the bodies of the parents and their sons, aged 6 and 4, from the rubble. Local officials called the death an irreparable loss for the community, while border villages in Sumy have endured relentless Russian strikes, driving widespread evacuations. Moscow tried to seize ground in the region earlier this year, but Kyiv says its forces have since pushed them back. A record 120-hour power blackout has hit the Russian-occupied Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. Ukrainian Energoatom warns that the crisis threatens the safety of Ukraine and other European countries.
Europe's largest nuclear power plant has been forced to rely on backup diesel generators after Russian troops reportedly damaged a power line on September 23rd, cutting the facility off from Ukraine's electrical grid. Energoatom has warned the emergency generators cannot sustain critical safety functions long term, and a shutdown could lead to a loss of control over nuclear safety systems. Representatives at Greenpeace Ukraine stress that the damage must be repaired immediately, noting that European stress tests showed nuclear plants can endure a power loss for only up to 72 hours.
Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán argued on Monday that Ukraine is not fully independent or sovereign. He made the remarks as a guest on the Hungarian podcast Russian-occupied Zaporizhzhia. Orbán said Kyiv is surviving only through Western military support and has lost its independence by losing territory to Russia. His comments came after President Volodymyr Zelenskyy accused Hungary on Friday of violating Ukraine's airspace with drones, allegedly spying on border areas. Orbán responded that Ukraine should focus on its eastern frontier since it is at war with Russia, not Hungary. Orbán has been one of Kyiv's toughest critics in the European Union, refusing to provide military aid, blocking stronger sanctions on Moscow, and hindering Ukraine's EU accession. Croatia's Prime Minister Andrej Plenković said the Janaf oil pipeline, which carries crude from the Adriatic to Central Europe, can fully cover Hungary's demand. He dismissed Budapest's claims of insufficient supply. Plenković stressed the dispute is over prices, not capacity. He noted that since the EU cut reliance on Russian energy, alternative routes like Janaf must be used even if they cost more. Hungary's Foreign Minister Péter Szijjártó accused Croatia of profiting from the war in Ukraine by raising fees and trying to block Russian oil. Croatia's foreign minister countered by pointing to investments in the LNG terminal on Krk and Janaf, saying the pipeline has proven capacity to supply Hungary, Slovakia, and other Central European partners. For Zagreb, the project is part of a broader effort to anchor regional energy security. Ukraine sent a delegation to the United States on Monday to discuss joint drone production, according to various Ukrainian outlets. The visit comes as Kyiv works to finalize a multi-billion-dollar deal for American weapons. Ukraine's deputy defense minister is leading the talks, focusing on technical details of the proposed agreement. Kyiv is considering the purchase of up to $90 billion in U.S. military equipment. High on the listing are long-range Tomahawk cruise missiles able to strike targets up to 2,500 kilometers away. Separately, President Zelenskyy said Ukraine could export some surplus military equipment, such as drone, and use the money to buy systems it needs, including interceptor drones. U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance said on Monday that a government shutdown now appears likely after President Donald Trump's talk with congressional leaders ended without agreement. Vance told reporters the country is moving towards a shutdown, blaming Democrats for what he called an unreasonable stance. With less than 24 hours before federal funds run out, Democrats and Republicans remain deadlocked. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer said his party pressed health care demands during the meeting, while the White House accused Democrats of choosing confrontation over compromise. A shutdown can be avoided only if all 53 Senate Republicans and at least 7 Democrats back a short-term funding bill. The send-off echoes Trump's first term, when the U.S. saw its longest shutdown, lasting 35 days over a border wall dispute. Ukrainian Foreign Minister Andrzej Sybiha said Ukraine aims to end the war this year after meeting with his Polish, German, and French counterparts. In a Weimar Triangle Plus framework, the ministers underlined support for Kyiv and pledged to defend all NATO territory against Russia's drone incursions.
We want to end this war this year,
said Andrzej Sybiha at the Warsaw Security Forum on Monday. According to Ukraine's foreign minister, there is a way to speed up the process.
This continuation of further aggression must become dangerous personally for Putin. And here we have really effective instruments, sanctions. Sanctions, transatlantic sanctions, not enough only European sanctions. They should be synchronized with American sanctions.
Ukraine's foreign minister was hosted by his Polish counterpart, Radosław Sikorski, alongside French and German foreign ministers for a Weimar Triangle Plus meeting earlier that day. On the occasion, Paris and Berlin expressed determination to defend all of NATO's territory following Russia's drone incursions into Polish and Estonian airspace in the recent weeks.
I was pleased to note the unequivocal response of our Weimar partners to these latest Russian actions. Thank you for strengthening the air defense of the eastern flank with additional French and German fighter jets.
Speaking to the four foreign ministers, chair of the Warsaw Security Forum, Katarzyna Pisarska, noted that officials were more optimistic at this year's WSF than at previous editions. This remark came amid observations of Russia's weakening.
Everyone realizes it is now failing. Failing militarily, failing economically, failing politically. It's been 3 years now since Russia hasn't made any progress on the front line, and its economy, its civil economy, is now collapsing due to the resources that Putin is putting into the war efforts.
According to officials, even Russia's attempts at sabotage through drone incursions had failed.
That had the absolute opposite effect of what Moscow had intended to, but brought us together, brought us behind our allies in Estonia, in Poland, and in Romania.
The Weimar Triangle is a regional alliance of Poland, Germany, and France created in 1991 to promote cooperation between the three countries. According to the German foreign minister, the format is ready for a new chapter.
To show the world, and especially, of course, Ukraine, and on the other side, Moscow, that we stand together, that we stick together.
For TVP World, I'm Sonia Gatabiszczyn.
The Warsaw Security Forum, a key annual gathering where European and allied leaders discuss security and defenses, is underway in the Polish capital. Our defense correspondent, Zuzana Jurek, has more.
The capital city of Poland, Warsaw, is taking center stage of global diplomacy. Over the next 2 days, over 2,000 delegates will discuss the most pressing issues pertaining to defense, deterrence and security. This also includes issues relating to NATO's eastern flank, which has recently been subjugated to a number of provocations from Russia, from drone incursions into Poland's airspace to fighter jets entering into Estonia's airspace, as well as Denmark, which has seen a number of drone objects flying over its critical infrastructure. In response, the NATO alliance has moved to establish its Eastern Sentry policing mission. However, as has been underlined by the Foreign Minister of Ukraine, Andrzej Sybiha, it is no longer just a question of collective capabilities, but rather moving and extending NATO's presence as a means of strengthening the defense and deterrence efforts of the NATO alliance.
We are ready to share with our experience. Poland is our closest ally, so our team already conducted several meetings, so we are in the process.
Thank you very much.
Because our security is also your security, and our security is indivisible with your security.
And this idea of strengthening collective cooperation and multinational cooperation has also been underlined by other experts who, on the other hand, have emphasized that it's not just a question of strengthening capabilities, but other implementing the lessons learned and creating a symbiotic relationship with Ukraine in order to strengthen the collective defense and deterrence of the NATO alliance.
We are all learning in a very quick way. First we were helping Ukraine, now we just see that Ukrainians are better than us in fighting the drones. We are all worried about drones attack recently in Poland, in Estonia. So we now see that it makes sense to cooperate closely with the Ukrainians.
It seems, however, that Europe is seeking to prioritize its defense industry's output, as has been flagged by the defense minister of Germany earlier this morning, Boris Pistorius. Germany is willing to provide some of the critical capabilities to its European allies, seeking to establish sovereignty over its own defense industries. From Warsaw for TVP World, Zuzanna Jurek.
Dutch Defense Minister Ruben Brekelmans told TVP World on the record that reaching consensus takes time among NATO's 32 allies or the European Union's 27 members. He spoke on the sidelines of the Warsaw Security Forum.
Is there unanimity now inside, let's say, EU members of NATO how to deal with these incursions and provocations from the Russian side?
I think we all agree that we should have a clear and a robust response.
But when people say that it's usually, it sounds nice, but nobody understands what it means.
No, that's what the discussion is about. Because I agree, and of course it's difficult because Russia is probably Russia is doing it in such a way that it's hard to prove, for example, now with everything that's happening in Denmark, whether Russia is behind it or not. When it comes to what happened here in Poland and also in Estonia, it's very hard to give 100% evidence that it was intentional. But of course we are all very suspicious because we know Russia's hybrid strategy. And still, when we talk about a response, it must be strong, it must be robust, but it takes some time for 32 NATO allies or 27 EU members to come to an agreement.
Washington's Special Envoy for Ukraine, Keith Kellogg, said on X that the US-Poland alliance remains strong. His post followed a Monday visit to Warsaw, where he met Polish National Security Advisor Marcin Przytasz.
Great visit in Warsaw today with National Security Advisor Marcin Przytasz. Under the leadership of the President of the United States and President Karol Nawrocki, the U.S.-Poland alliance is as strong as ever. Thanks for the in-depth discussion this afternoon.
Denmark has called up hundreds of reserve soldiers in response to what officials describe as growing threats from drones in national airspace.
Danish channel TV2 reported on Monday that the confidential call-up order instructs soldiers to report for duty immediately, with sources saying several hundred reservists are affected. The mobilization comes just day before an EU summit in Copenhagen, raising concerns about possible disruptions. In addition to drones, security experts also note increased Russian naval activity near Danish waters. Neither the Defence Ministry nor the Defence Command has commented on the scale of the mobilization. Denmark is believed to have about 3,000 reservists available.
Sweden will send anti-drone and radar systems to Denmark to help protect its airspace, Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson announced on Monday. The move follows several drone incursions that disrupted operations at 6 airports last week.
A few hours ago, the decision was made to send a contribution with anti-drone capabilities to Copenhagen at Denmark's request. Counter-UAS is the military term for countering unmanned aerial vehicles. The main purpose is to protect the Copenhagen area from unwelcome drone visits and drone attacks for a set period of time. We are also sending radar capabilities, separate Swedish radar capabilities to Denmark for a period of time to increase detection across a wider area.
U.S. President Donald Trump announced on Monday that he will chair a transitional, quote, board of peace for Gaza. He unveiled a 20-point plan at the White House with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The proposal, aimed at ending the Gaza war, depends on Hamas's acceptance.
To ensure the success of this effort, my plan calls for the creation of a new international oversight body, the Board of Peace, we call it, the Board of Peace, sort of a beautiful name, the Board of Peace, which will be headed not at my request, believe me, I'm very busy, but we have to make sure this works. the leaders of the Arab world, and Israel, and everybody involved asked me to do this, so it would be headed by a gentleman known as President Donald J. Trump of the United States.